And now, without further ado, I present to you the Quadrilaterals from Polygon Land. Ucan, who's visiting? The Quadrilateral family. Are they going to be staying in your castle? No. You need to design them a new castle, a quadrilateral castle. Ucan wants you to sort shapes based on attributes. And now, presenting the Quadrilateral family of Polygon Land. Ucan, who's visiting? Oh, it looks like Grandma Parallelogram. Oh, and of course, Mother Rhombus. And is Father Rectangle coming? Yes, he is. We can't forget Baby Square. And who else will be visiting? Oh, yes, Aunt Kite and Uncle Trapezoid. King Ucan welcomes you. Do you remember what has to happen with the sides for a shape to be a quadrilateral? A shape has to have 4 sides to be a quadrilateral. Did you know that all of these shapes are part of a quadrilateral family? They all have different attributes that make them special, but they all belong to the quadrilateral family because they all are polygons with 4 sides. So I can color in each and every single one of these shapes because each of them is an important member of the quadrilateral family with very special attributes that make them uniquely who they are. Stop and think for a second about what makes this quadrilateral a special quadrilateral. Think on your own for at least 10 seconds, and then if someone's around, turn and tell them what you're thinking. Ucan, are these the blueprints for your castle, your quadrilateral castle? Looks like you're adding a square to your blueprints. And you've noticed that your square has 4 equal sides. Another attribute you've noticed is that your square has 2 sets of parallel sides. And when you look at the corners or angles, you've noticed that your square has 4 right angles. Those are angles that a little square could fit perfectly inside. Nice square. Are you thinking about adding squares anywhere else? Yeah, that looks perfect. The quadrilateral family is going to love it. Let's take a look at this shape and talk about its attributes for a second before we name it. Let's take a second to think about what we notice. Well, one thing I notice about this shape is that it has 4 equal sides. And as I look at the sides, I'm also noticing that there are 2 sets of parallel sides. There's that fun word parallel that has a set of parallel lines inside of it. 2 sets of parallel lines. And the other kind of attribute I can look at is corners. And I can see it has 4 corners, and it has 4 special kinds of corners. It has 4 right corners, or right angles. When a shape has 4 equal sides, two sets of parallel lines, and four right angles, we call it a square. And see if we can find some squares. I'm going to ask shape by shape if it has the attributes I've listed, and if it doesn't, I'm just going to mark it off. I can see this shape does not have four equal sides, so from the get-go I know it's not a square. This one has four equal sides. It has two sets of parallel lines, and it has four right angles. I think this one's a square. This one does not have four equal sides. 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 This one does have four equal sides. It does have two sets of parallel lines. Let's go ahead and ask that last question. Does it have four right angles? It doesn't. It can't be a square. Time for another Toucan talk. Take a look at this quadrilateral. What do you notice about this quadrilateral's attributes? How is it different than other quadrilaterals you've seen? How is it the same? Remember to take 10 seconds to think about this on your own, and then find someone nearby to talk to. So what are you adding now to your blueprints? Three rectangles, of course. So you're noticing as you add the rectangles that unlike the square, the rectangle's sides are different lengths. However, I can see a few things that make the rectangle similar to the square. One is that, like a square, it has two sets of parallel sides. And if I look at the attribute of corners or angles, I can see that it also has four right angles, just like a square does. Let's look at this shape. What do we notice? First, let's look at its sides. I can see that it has two sets of parallel sides. Two sets of parallel sides. Okay, I can also see that it has four corners or angles, and they're all right angles because a little square could fit perfectly in the corner. So this shape has four right angles. When we're talking about a shape that has two sets of parallel sides and four right angles, we're talking about a rectangle. Does it have two sets of parallel sides? Nope. Does it have two sets of parallel sides? Yes. Does it have four right angles? Yes. This is a rectangle. It's a special kind of rectangle that we call a square. Does it have two sets of parallel sides? Nope. Does it have two sets of parallel sides? Yes, it does. Does it have four right angles? Nope. It's not a rectangle. Does it have two sets of parallel sides? Nope. Does it have two sets of parallel sides? Sure does. Does it have four right angles? Sure does. This is a rectangle. Can't call it a square though because all its sides aren't the same length. Okay. What about this one? Does it have two sets of parallel sides? Sure does. Does it have four right angles? Nope. Can't call it a rectangle. Time for another Toucan talk. Take a look at this quadrilateral. What do you notice about its attributes? What do you see when you look at its sides and its angles? Take 10 seconds to think about this on your own. And then if someone's around, turn to them and talk to them about it. Hey, let's add some kites to this blueprint. Looks like you've added them as your towers. And you're noticing as you add your kites that adjacent sides or sides that are next to each other are equal in length. That's pretty cool. you're also noticing that you have one set of equal or congruent opposite angles. Pretty cool. Those kites look great as your towers. Ooh, but you're adding another kite embellishment. That quadrilateral family is going to be so happy. Look at this shape. I'm noticing that this side and this side are the same size. They're congruent. And I'm noticing that this side and the side that's adjacent to it is also the same size or congruent. I'm noticing that this shape has two sets of equal or congruent sides. I'm also noticing that the equal or congruent sides are next to each other, or they are adjacent. What about the corners or the angles? These angles aren't the same size, but these angles are. This shape has one pair of opposite angles that are equal or congruent. When I have a shape with two sets of equal sides and the equal sides are adjacent to one another and one pair of opposite angles that are equal, I have myself a kite. Okay, let's go over here and ask ourselves some questions, see if we can find a kite. This one has two sets of equal sides. It has equal sides that are adjacent to one another. And it has just one pair of angles that are equal. I think this one's a kite. What about this one? It has two sets of equal sides. Does. The equal sides are adjacent. Oh, but it has two pairs of equal angles. That can't be it. Does this one have two sets of equal sides? This one just has one set of equal sides. Can't be that. Oh, I forgot to cross this one off. Okay. Does this have two sets of equal sides? Well, yeah. This one is the same as that one, and this one is the same as that one. But the equal sides aren't adjacent. They're opposite each other. Can't be that. This one does not have any sides, it seems, that are equal. Can't be this one. This one that does have two sets of equal sides. But just like this one up here, the equal sides are opposite each other. They're not adjacent. Can't be this. This one does have two sets of equal sides. And equal sides are adjacent. Oh, but it has two pairs of opposite angles that are the same size. It can't be that. This must be our only kite. What do you notice when you look at this quadrilateral? When you look at the sides, what do you see? How about when you look at the corners or angles? What do you notice there? Take 10 seconds to think about this on your own. And then if someone is near you, talk to them about it. Time to add some rhombi, that's plural for rhombus, to your blueprints. Oh, perfect. They're going to be the steps leading up to your grand front door. Let's take a closer look at a rhombus. What do we see? A rhombus has four sides, and those four sides are the same exact size. They are congruent. I can also see that it has two sets of parallel sides. What about the angles or corners? Let's take a closer look at that. Yep, I think that opposite angles are congruent or equal. Let's look at this shape. This shape has, let's look at its sides first. This shape has sides that are all the same length, I think. So I think the first thing we need to say is it has 4 equal sides, like the square. It has 4 equal sides just like the square. It also has 2 sets of parallel lines just like the square too. Or sides. But guess what? When we take a look at the angles, that's where things get a little different, don't they? When I take a look at the angles, I can see that the opposite angles are equal, but they're not right angles. I'll go ahead and write that. Opposite angles are equal. Okay. Take a look at our rhombus. Does it have 4 equal sides? Nope. Does it have 4 equal sides? Yes. Does it have 2 sets of parallel lines? Yes. Are the opposite angles equal? They are. This is a rhombus. It's a special kind of rhombus called a square. To be a square, you have to have 4 right angles, right? But this one, does. Okay, what about this guy? 4 equal sides? Nope. 4 equal sides? Nope. 4 equal sides? Nope. 4 equal sides? Nope. 4 equal sides? Yes. 2 sets of parallel lines? Yes. Opposite angles are equal? Yes. This shape's a rhombus. It's time for another toucan talk. Check out this quadrilateral. What are you noticing about its attributes? What do you see happening with the sides? What about the corners or angles? Stop and think for 10 seconds on your own. And then if someone's around you, turn and tell them what you're noticing. Back to the blueprints, Ucan. How are you going to add parallelograms? Ooh, fancy banners going down the side. That quadrilateral family is going to love it. Let's take a closer look at a parallelogram. It has 4 sides. Of course, it's a quadrilateral. But the sides are not the same length. Remember, the rhombus had sides that were the same length, so that's a little different. However, just like the rhombus, it has 2 sets of parallel sides. What happens if we take a look at the corners? They're not right angles, so it's not a rectangle, but the opposite angles are equal. What are we seeing when we look at this shape? First I want to look at the sides. Well, I'm noticing that it does have 2 sets of parallel lines, or sides. A set going this way, and a set of lines or sides going this way. So it has 2 sets of parallel, there's that fun word again, I love to write, sides. Check it out, and opposite angles are the same size. Are the same size. When we have a shape that has two sets of parallel sides and opposite angles are the same size, we call that a parallelogram. Does this shape have two sets of parallel sides? Doesn't look like it. I think eventually those would cross. This one's not going to work. Does this shape have two sets of parallel sides? It does. Are opposite angles the same size? They are. This is a kind of parallelogram. It's a special kind of parallelogram that we call a square, but it's still a parallelogram because it has two sets of parallel sides and its opposite angles are the same size. That's all you need to be a parallelogram. What about this one? Does it have two sets of parallel sides? It doesn't. Those are definitely not parallel. Does this one have two sets of parallel sides? It does. Does this one have opposite angles that are the same size? It does. This one must be a parallelogram. What about this one? Does this one have two sets of parallel sides? Nope, that one would cross. So it can't be this one. Does this one have two sets of parallel sides? It sure does. Does this one have opposite angles that are the same size? It does. So this one's a parallelogram. It's a special kind of parallelogram that's called a rectangle. Does this one have two sets of parallel sides? It does. Does this one have opposite angles that are the same size? It does. This one is a parallelogram. It's a special kind of parallelogram called a rhombus. Time for another toucan talk. Take a look at this quadrilateral. First, look at its sides. What do you notice about them? Then take a look at its corners or angles. What do you notice about them? Take some time to think about it first before you talk, and then find someone to talk to it about. Hey, Ucan. You know what I've been thinking? Your castle is missing windows. Ah, you were thinking the same thing. And trapezoids are perfect for that. Let's take a closer look at this trapezoid. You know, I think about the sides. I'm noticing that there's just one pair of parallel sides. And I'm also noticing that in this particular trapezoid, none of the sides are equal in length. So I guess the thing we need to worry about most when we're looking for trapezoids is that there is just one pair of parallel sides. Ucan, looking good in there. You're not going to want to keep it for yourself, are you? Let's take a look at this shape. What are we noticing about it? The only thing, I'm looking at the sides first, and the only thing I can see about the sides, they all look to be a different size, so we can't say that there's any sides that are the same length, but it does have one pair of parallel sides. That's all I can see. It doesn't have two pairs, it just has one. This kind of shape has exactly one set of parallel sides. And when you have a shape that has exactly one set of parallel sides, not more, it's called a trapezoid. Let's see if we can find some trapezoids over here. This has no sets of parallel sides. It can't work. This has two sets of parallel sides. It can't work. This has exactly one set of parallel sides. It must be a trapezoid. Let's go ahead and color it in. This has 2 sets of parallel sides, not a trapezoid. This one has 1 set of parallel sides. It must be a trapezoid. This has 2 sets of parallel sides. Can't be right. This has 2 sets of parallel sides. Can't be right. Pencil problem time. Hey, can you imagine a quadrilateral that doesn't fit into any category we've talked about? Because guess what? The quadrilaterals aren't entirely happy with King Ucan's drawings. They want a garden made from quadrilaterals that have not been talked about yet. So first, think about the attributes you've learned about. Then, think about how we use those attributes to categorize or sort quadrilaterals. And last, draw a quadrilateral that doesn't fit in any category. Okay, don't be a square. It's time to think outside the box. Hey guys, how'd it go? Could you think of a quadrilateral that didn't belong in any of the categories on the other side? Well, Ucan and I did some thinking, and here's what we came up with. It has 4 sides, so it's a quadrilateral. But it has no sets of parallel sides. It has no equal sides, and there are no opposite angles that are equal. So this one does not belong as a part of any of the members of the family on the other side. But it still belongs to the quadrilateral family because it has 4 sides, and it's a polygon. Ucan, the garden looks fantastic. Ucan, the quadrilaterals loved your castle so much, they want to invite all the quadrilateral cousins. But we need your help. Can you help us find all the quadrilaterals? First, look around. What quadrilaterals do you see? Second, sketch what you see. And last, don't forget to label. Okay, it's time to pause the video. We're going on a quadrilateral hunt. We're going to catch some big ones. So how'd you do? Did you find some shapes around your house or your classroom that were the shape of a quadrilateral? Well, Ucan doesn't have a classroom, but he does have a castle, and he searched high and low, and here's what he found. So the things he found might be a little different than what you found. I don't know if you have a banquet table inside your house or classroom, but Ucan does. So one of the things he found was that his banquet table is a very long rectangle. He likes to invite a lot of guests over for dinner parties in his castle. Ucan also noticed that on his crown there were jewels in the shape of kites. Very sparkly ones. Oh, and I forgot that I should probably label this. So this is a rectangle. I know that because it has 2 sets of parallel sides and 4 right angles. So that is a rectangle, and this is his banquet table here. And this is a kite, and it's a jewel on his crown. Of course, like any castle should have, or house, he has a dresser. And in that dresser where he keeps his royal robes and such are, well, it's shaped like a rectangle, but also the drawers inside his, he's got one maybe big drawer here. They are all rectangles. So these are, I'll put little handles on his drawers. These are rectangles. And they are drawers. And you know what else he noticed? He found some squares. because he has some tile, some beautiful tile. Quite a beautiful pattern. Oops. And I'm really trying to make them square. They may not be perfect though. But he has a beautiful tile floor. And some of them, of course, are darker than others. It's a very nice checkerboard pattern. The tile on his floor is a square. That's tile on his floor. So he's going to keep looking. Didn't seem to find any parallelograms yet, or trapezoids. But he's going to give it a shot and do some more looking. You should be looking too. Next time you go for a walk, next time you're in the car with your mom or dad, driving somewhere, look out the window. See if you can see some quadrilaterals. Don't forget to tell your teacher about them.